Not that bad. Oh, not that about the audiobook. Oh my gosh.
Hello, everyone. We are now live. Welcome to the Late Night Book Club live show. And we're talking about Reprieve for the last month's pick. So, what did everyone think? What are your thoughts? I guess we're going non-spoilers for now. While the hosts are giving their ratings, you guys can let us know too what you guys thought of this book. So, you guys, who wants to go first?
Joel.
I guess I can.
Joel, please, Joel.
Joel, go first, please. Hello, everyone. As you can tell, I have a very different cover, but it has blood on the side.
So good.
Maybe a certain character, maybe belonging to a certain character, but we'll talk about that later. I read Reprieve. Okay, I was listening to this via the audiobook and then also this at the same time. And I was listening to it at 3.5 times speed. And I was like, okay, this is going very, it's like a normal pace. So I was like, this is weird. So I went to 1 times speed. And the speed in which this author speaks, it's like, and so we went. I was like, how does anyone listen to this at 1 time speed? But anyway, that's irrelevant. So I read this book. And I think this has definitely been heavily mismarketed as a escape room horror, because I definitely feel like the escape room wasn't the massive element in this story. It was more so a culmination of everyone's fears coming together in the escape room. However, I think throughout the story we're giving these aspects of people's lives. They definitely play into the social horror aspect that I kept seeing a lot of people discuss and talk about with this book, relating it towards a social horror. And so I definitely enjoyed those aspects more. However, I feel like the story definitely got disjointed in places, and I was just a bit like, ooh, I don't really know how I feel about it. And yeah, I don't really know how I feel about it overall. It was a good inspection into certain elements, but it's one of those books where I'm I feel like I'm between a 3 and a 4 for this, I want to say. Purely because I did enjoy some aspects of this. However, there were just other aspects that I was a bit oh, I'm not a massive fan of it.
Oh, you just stole all of my ideas out of my head.
I'm sorry.
Everything I was going to say. You summed it up so well. And I was saying this to Joel and Elias before the live show started, but I was like, I feel like it was one of those books where I had to read other people's reviews to figure out exactly where I landed, because there were parts, again, that I really enjoyed, and then parts that I felt like didn't translate as well as I think it was marketed as, right? Exactly what Joel said. This is something that came up when we read The Other Black Girl over last summer, where it's oh, this is a Get Out meets The Devil Wears Prada. This was supposed to be super escape room scary. And in both cases, we were all like, it's not that the book was bad. It was just not marketed the way that we expected it to come off as. So I think also that the pivoting between horror and kind of the more general fiction chapters was too jarring and ultimately would take me out of the story. I could see myself I could feel myself reading way slower when we would get to a POV versus the cell. Exactly. And so I think that I just was well, let's just go back to the escape room. I want to go back to the Quigley house. That's where I want to be. And so I understand what the author was trying to do with having these separate stories all come together at the end. But ultimately, it was just too disjointed for me. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5.
Wow, not a bad rating at all. Okay.
Elias, what about you?
Oh, I feel like yeah, I feel a 1 coming.
Elias, come on!
Do I need to go get some popcorn?
Throughout the entirety of this book, I was yelling out Reprieve.
Yes!
I was like, get me the fuck out of here. What the hell is this shit? It was so... I feel like the whole book itself was very disjointed. I do like it when books, touch upon social commentary, especially the things that were going on in this book, like the microaggressions, the internalization, race, all that. It's fine. I didn't have any problem with that. I just didn't know where this book was going, like the motives, why these people, who they were, how they all came together. And the villain of the story was so laughable. Like how he came together. I was just like, this book in of itself is just about this egotistical, arrogant white man who has an Asian fetish, who gets tricked into killing a man. That's basically what this whole book was about. I didn't really like how everything came together. I thought the author tried too much, juggling all these different things, and there wasn't a huge, payoff. It felt like this whole book was building up to something, because for me, you find out everything what happens rather quickly. You find out who dies. You find out, more about these people's backstories, and I thought that a lot of their story was just so it didn't really flesh out any of these characters. In fact, if anything, it made the whole reading experience rather for me really tedious, repetitive, kind of boring in a way, because I didn't really care about these characters. A lot of them are so unlikable without any depth to them that I couldn't even root for any of these unlikable characters, because usually when I'm reading about unlikable characters, there's some sort of nuance, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like in this stance, there wasn't really anything for me to root for. So, and the ending was, wasn't giving me anything. Like I said,
go on, girl.
It was definitely mismarketed. I was here for the supernatural horror, escape room horror, and we just got a glimpse of that. Instead, we dive way back to these characters, backstories, their psyche, and it seemed like what I said before, it built to something. It was there wasn't anything there, because we already knew what was going to happen. So the whole book was really long in of itself too.
Yeah.
So anyways, long story short, I'm giving this 1.5 or maybe a 2. I don't know, borderline 1.5, 2. It wasn't a terrible book by any means, but I just think that I was expecting something else, and it got something different. And his writing is fine, in my opinion. For me, I just thought that there was a lot going on, a little too much, some disjointed. He didn't know, or the author didn't know where he wanted to go with this book. So,
I think. Oops, sorry. I was going to say, I think thematically, it kind of touched upon certain things, because I know in Kendra's initial perspective, she was she found some romance in horror. She loved finding romance within the horror aspects, which kind of reminded me of when our last live show, where Noelle was like, does this fantasy have romance in it? And I was just like, okay. But then in another perspective, it was love takes work. And so I was like, okay, so if you're finding romance within horror and love takes work, is someone gonna have to commit an atrocious act in order to fulfill a romance, hence the horror? And so I was like, oh, that will work with the whole scenario, with the how everything turns out to be. But like Ellias said, I just think it just felt like it was so many things coming together. Definitely it felt like a mesh novel, which didn't mesh very well. It could have worked, I think, if the structure was changed slightly. So we got a part, instead of it being part 1, part 2, part 3 it was, we had part 1 where it's we got the backstory, then we went to the escape room and everything played out. And so throughout the escape room, we then got to figure out oh, because if we learned this about this person's backstory, they're going to commit this action. And so I feel that could have worked out better, potentially. But yeah.
Yeah, I feel if we did not learn who died or who was going to do what, it would have elevated the book so much better, I feel in my opinion, because you wouldn't know what was going to be committed or by whom, right? You know all these backstories, and you feel oh, you're giving some insight to these characters, some backstory, some depth, the reasoning behind what they're going to do, but it didn't, there was no payoff. You just learn about this one person. He was just really terrible in his way of thinking and blah blah blah, but nothing really came. Even after, I feel the aftermath of what happened in the book was just so minuscule. It's so little, comparing to to wrap everything up. And the dialogue for me was so it felt so juvenile at some points. like clunky and like a little. I don't know why. I've seen a lot of people referencing this too, so I'm not the only one. But
I think that is something that you said right at the beginning of your star rating, Elias, was kind of like that since you figure out what happens so fast and then the ending comes and it's a little bit like, well, we already knew where that was going. I actually felt like, I mean, the same, but the ending is so fast. Like the John Forrester, right?
Yeah.
Forrester. I mean, there's going to be some spoilers here now. So
yeah, we're talking about spoilers. I mean, nothing really to talk about.
Yeah.
Nothing to talk about. But like John Forster, basically, he's all of a sudden like, oh, Reprieve. John Forster is like, here's what's going to happen. You're going to do this, 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 and this. And then it just happens. And then the book's done. Like, I felt like, okay, so we understand. I agree with you guys about this, about like how it could have been kind of teased out a little bit more. If we didn't know who died and what the motive was, then we could have been all guessing on each chapter, like what would Kendra's motivation be, or what is this person's motivation, or does this person die, or why would they die? There would have been more mystery to it, and there wasn't really a mystery. It was just a matter of, okay, we know who does it and we know who dies, but how did we get there? And I think it just felt like the plan was laid out too quickly at the very end, where I was like, okay, well, we already knew that this happened, so why are we getting it described right now?
Also, the motive, like, what? The motive made like zero sense to me. I was like, and the way he like used this guy to trick him, like, okay, that's fine, but like, it was still like, I was just like, this is so far-fetched and unbelievable to me, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So.
Like, I think I definitely,
definitely the worst character in the book.
Yeah.
I just,
And his part takes you so out of the book. Like that was, you're so far away from the fact that you think this is about an escape room when you're in Leonard's part that you're like, what book am I reading again? There were times where I was like, I forget where we are, who we are, like what's going on in the grand scheme of this novel.
I guess you could say his perspective was a reprieve from the rest of the book.
Elliot's just shaking his head.
But going off of this one, I definitely think like the lit fic was definitely there in terms of like the criticism of like race and the sexism present in like Leonard's chapter. I think it definitely hit the nail on those parts, and I think that's why I liked it a little bit more, because it hit the nail on those heads. I just think in the factor of it being like an escape room, I think it failed in like those aspects. Like the horrific aspects were more so things that I've already experienced, so it's just like, okay, but like what is something that's like gonna like take me deeper with the escape room? And there just wasn't anything there. Yeah,
it felt like 20% or 15% escape room, and then the rest was kind of disjointed, not figuring out like where we were going with it. Have either of you seen the horror movie Haunt?
No. I really liked it. It's good.
It's super scary, and that's what I was expecting when it started, and they're like explaining what the house is like and explaining the kind of like really scary like masks and fake blood and everything. I was like, oh, this reminds me of Haunt. This is gonna be so creepy. And so I think that was also to my detriment of reading, is I know of a kind of escape room or like haunted house type of movie that really scares me. And so when this one was like 85% not escape room, it was just, I went into it expecting something else. So yeah.
Like, I don't think it's as apparent on like the US cover, but on the UK cover, like it has like the red envelope on the front, and then on the inside of the end papers, it's literally a layout of the Quigley house. So you go into it thinking like it's an escape room, and so it's just like, where's my escape room?
Yeah.
And it's
That's a great point. Even the way the book's laid out, preps you for something that you don't get out of the book.
Yeah.
It was it's just, I mean, going back a little bit, granted, I'm talking on place here, but in the beginning when you guys were talking about how slow the audiobook was, I listened to the audiobook on almost 3x speed, and it was still too slow for me. So I closed out the app and I just read it on my own.
Wait, shall I try and play it at 1 time speed so you can all see
Yes!
how slow this is? Okay.
Yes.
Let's go to chapter 3 because I know it does it. Like, let's see.
Corey Stout. Cross-examination excerpt. September 16th, 1997.
You know, who listens to a book at that speed?
Well, who talks
How?
that slow? That's just
Literally.
I need to slow
Going
down.
far. Like,
Going far. So did we have a favorite, least favorite character? I mean, I think we might know who people's least favorite is.
yeah, least favorite, easily Leonard. Like, easily.
I saw some comments in the comments, and Jadi's chapters I also didn't love. I was like, this the like following someone across the country or across the world, showing up at their house, not taking no for an answer. It's like, I don't love this storyline.
It felt very you, like apparently, like Netflix is you. Like
me. I was like, what?
No.
I was like, Joel, how?
Excuse me. No. Like Netflix is you, like the way it was just like obsessed and like, and he was just like, yeah, I want Victor.
The way he moved a country just to meet up with this man. He had it bad. He had it so bad. He was down bad.
I got.
I think what was really interesting to me about JD was that, you know, like sort of going into that aspect of how some like, you know, Asian countries can fetishize like, you know, being white in America, and that assimilating to that certain culture, falling into the certain stereotypes just to fit in, just to make people like you, which is something that I found really interesting about this book, because I could sort of personally relate to it, because I went to sort of like an all whites Midwestern university in Kansas like a few years ago, and I could relate with some of the struggles that JD was going through, which was really interesting. But I mean, as you go on, like, I feel like his whole perspective to me, I feel like could have been further fleshed out, especially at the end where he's like unpacking all this, like all these like train of thoughts and all these like mindsets and beliefs, like, you know, how he perpetuates, you know, certain stereotypes to certain people. And I feel like I wanted to know more about that, like what went on afterwards, like after the like we learned a little bit, right after, but I wanted a little bit more. I was like, you know, I feel like we barely scratched the surface of like JD's character, and I was like, to me, he was probably the most interesting to read about of all the characters. Even though, yeah, there were some uncomfortable moments, you know, of course, reading about this character, but I thought I wanted to know, like, you know, the struggles and the aftermath of, you know, unpacking all that, those thoughts and stuff.
Yeah. I think who else was a pretty good perspective.
I think I
Kendra to me was like a YA character.
I think I liked the tandem of Kendra and Brian. Right?
Yeah.
I just liked that they were related, and that's how he got into the escape room, like how he got a spot there. And I liked like her obsession with horror and kind of like the discussion around like just more generic horror tropes that you see. So she was kind of the person that was giving us a more bird's eye view on horror. I thought that the service of her character was interesting, and that there was a connection with someone else in her family. But I think that was also an aspect where I was like, okay, we have a family dynamic happening on top of all the other things happening in this book. So again, I'm feeling not connected to any of the characters, but also not really feeling planted in the story in any place.
Oh, have you guys ever completed an escape room before? Like, have you ever sort of been in an extreme escape situation where these people were in like the escape room? Like the escape rooms
I
that they
have
were in were like
not.
really, really super tense. and
Have you,
intense.
Elias?
In my dreams, but not in real life.
My dream.
I can't. I can't. In my dreams. True, to be fair. Yeah, in my dreams. Like, I'm just one that's like solving all of the escape room clues, being like, there, being like proper like detective work. Ooh. I don't even know how I would perform in an escape room, to be honest.
Terrible. I would be awful.
Wait, I've never even participated in an escape room, so I feel like I
Same.
wouldn't even know what to do.
Have either of you done haunted houses?
Yes, I've
Mhm.
done it a couple of times, and I really enjoyed it. It was really fun. Have you?
I did it one year and vowed I would never do it again because of how
Oh,
terrified I was.
damn.
So it was like one year we went to 2, like in a weekend, like the weekend before Halloween. And the first one we went to, I said no, but then we had tickets to the second one, and then I went to it and I said, I'm never going to put myself through this ever again in my life. So I'm terrible with that.
Oh, I just have fun. I don't know why. I get someone like tries to scare me and I just laugh and I'm like, haha, okay.
I'm one of the people that they're like, oh, we're gonna target the most scared person in the group, and I'm the most scared person in the group. So I'm like, I love scary movies, but having it in front of me.
Yes,
Oh,
Joel.
thank you. I wanted to match the blood because it's waxy and fake.
And it's like the bow makes it look like at the neck,
Oh yeah, like
little horror aspect.
True,
I
very
don't
true.
know, just something to think about. Well,
I literally have nothing else to say about this.
I know. I was like,
So, if you guys, have any other questions or whatever,
Yeah,
you guys want us to talk about, feel free.
true. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I would want to say about this book. I mean, like the blood dripping on the side is beautiful.
I feel like this was given more to, for us than the actual story in the book. Like even your cover too. Like it's pretty much the best thing about it. So
yeah.
It's on page 218.
What? 218.
He designed a dance around each fake corpse: knife back, elbow out, wrist flicked, shoulder back, hip turned, arm extended, pirouette, switch hands.
What?
I think it's the way he's like cutting the corpses open.
Knife back, elbow out, wrist flicked. Oh my god.
You basically want us to do a serial killer dance. I'm here
Pirouette.
for it.
Oh my gosh. Do the dance. Ooh, who would you cast in a movie? Because a movie, to be fair, if this was a movie, I think it would be a lot
A box
better.
office bomb.
That, but also
harsh.
a lot easier to digest.
Yes.
Because I think they'd be able to do flashback scenes pretty well of like them in the escape room, but then flashing back to their like experiences and stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like that would work better. Although, given the fact they might just do it as a TV show, because that's what we wanted an Evelyn Hugo show, and they gave us a film.
Did they really?
Yeah.
There's a movie happening?
There's a movie happening, but like I'm happy, but at the same time, it's like how are they going to cover like the 7 husbands in a 2-hour film? 2-hour film? 2-hour film.
It's on Netflix too, right?
Yeah.
Wow, I had no idea. Maybe I did.
So we shall see what will happen with that, but we haven't had any casting or stuff yet. So an episode per cell for a Reprieve TV show, that would work, I think. Although, like, it would probably only be then like 5 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it could be run as like a limited series.
I feel like it could be a TV show if they added probably more horror elements to it, or just more substance than the book. Because the whole book itself was just it focused so much on backstory, giving these characters like depth and stuff. I feel like the teacher could probably do that, and then some, like add in their own horror flair and whatnot. I'm not sure
Mhm.
who I'd cast. Maybe Chloe Bailey as Kendra.
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know about everyone else. Honestly, it'd be easy
No,
though.
true.
I'm terrible with casting like this.
I need like 3 hours to like go through and feel like I'd find someone that's correct for each role and just be like, you know.
Yeah. Well, that was April, right? Woo!
Woo! Yeah, honestly, I have nothing else to say.
Yeah.
I think we can have a reprieve from Reprieve.
Yes,
So,
come on. Another
we can-
pun.
Hey. I guess we can talk about our next book.
Piranesi.
Holy cover, Joel. What?
Wow.
This is the nakedness of my Piranesi. Because I remember saying that I had like a cool naked cover. So yeah, it says like
wow. That is
So, yeah.
fun.
A+.
I
How many
am
pages
like
is this book?
it's quite short. I think it's just my copy is about 245 pages.
Me too.
So it's a pretty it's a
Hope-
short one.
Hopefully, with the next two books that are short, we'll be on track again.
Oh,
with
yeah,
reading,
most-
because I know we've been a little behind. Keep picking
The lives.
big ass books to read,
Yeah, true.
That's
but
true.
life has
You're
other
right.
plans.
The short books. And then June, Phantom of the Opera,
Yes.
which is also very short. So
yeah, it'll be pretty good. We'll have a fun time with both of these books. And then yeah, and then we'll be announcing I forget
Did we
May, June,
did we ever
July.
have someone commented this earlier? But did we ever read a strictly romance book for this book club yet?
I think we planned
I feel
to,
like
but
they
we-
were
I don't-
all like literary fiction mixed in with
Yeah,
like romance.
like
Yeah.
Song
I
of
think
Achilles is not a romance.
Evelyn Hugo
Yeah.
ish, but
I
not
could
like
do
a
a little-
strictly romance book.
I think you're
I
right.
don't
Or
think so.
Loveless, but wasn't. You know?
Yeah. Loveless,
Like we
but
read
wasn't.
it for February, but wasn't romance.
Yeah, I'm definitely down
Yeah.
to read like a super steamy,
Ooh.
fun rom-com. You know,
Steamy. Oh, what one could I mean, to be fair, I did try and get you to read Ice Planet Barbarians. That would have been no. I'm trying to think what could be like a fun one to read. We could do like a proper like TikTok romance that's like steamy, and they're all like, oh,
We
or
could do Love
like a-
Hypothesis. That really took over the internet.
I've read that one. I actually
I have
do
too.
where is my copy? Because I got the like cool Illumicrate copy of it. I think
I have like not read any
I can't find it.
steamy romance books.
Oh, you're in for a treat.
Oh, I know what we can do. We can do the Spanish Love Deception.
Oh, I've read that one.
Just kidding.
I feel like
I've heard about this one.
I was gonna say I think you'll be very unsatisfied.
Oh, book lovers.
Oh yes, book lovers. I have a copy somewhere.
I just finished it 3 days ago for the second time.
Oh,
So I'll read it again.
oh.
I'll read it
For the
again.
second time. Wow.
See,
Ow.
Emily Henry is just. I read. Oh my god, what was the book I
Beach
read?
Read?
Of his? Yes, Beach Read, and I loved it.
Yes.
So
I think you'll love book lovers.
Yeah,
Really?
I would definitely be up for reading book lovers. It's on my like highly anticipated reads, so that would be pretty good. Does someone just no?
I don't know if the no is to Twilight or to book
book
lovers.
lovers,
No.
literally.
It's like no romance books. No.
We'll have to.
We'll
No.
We'll discuss.
we'll decide.
And I think we'll just
Look around.
we'll see
Yeah, because the next round of picks will be July, August, and then our 2-year anniversary pick.
Oh,
Oh, have you guys ever read Colleen Hoover book?
I just read one this
No.
month and last month, first times.
I
Last
have
month
not.
was her
What did you think?
Verity. I read last month, which is like
That is
her
not
first
a rom. That
ever-
is.
I know
that
it's her
was-
first ever thriller, like that she's
that
ever.
book. I read it a while back, and I feel like all the reviews for that book came over from her romance, right? They were like romance readers, and they're reading this for the first time. Like, guys, this is like one of the best thrillers I've ever read. It was so twisty. It was so good. It was legit one of the worst thrillers I've ever read in my entire life. Like when I first finished it,
Oh yes.
I was shocked. I was like,
Oh my god.
I was
Wow,
so
so,
disgusted at
Ellie-
everyone. I was like, you
So
guys,
Elias has
just
read
don't know
Colleen
what you're
Hoover,
talking
but not
Stop.
her.
no, here's the
In,
thing.
in August, we'll be reading Verity.
That will literally be my 13th reason. We are not doing that.
So I read Verity last month, and then people were like, "Oh, give romance a chance." So I tried Ugly Love, and I just finished that one. But I think
What
It
did
Ends
you
With
think?
Us is
Oh, see, you guys hear the sirens?
yes, I hear it. There it goes.
Verity, I'm telling you.
They're going to that escape room.
Verity.
Wait. No, I'm really curious. What did you think of Ugly Love? Give us a non-spoiler review. Quick review. Oh no!
That's
Well,
it. That's what we need.
Mhm.
Yeah, I got that.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't my type of romance, I think. That's what I'll say.
Interesting.
So, we could try another one. I don't know if Ugly Love is her biggest romance.
No, her biggest one is It Ends With Us. That one
Mhm.
took book talk by a storm.
Yeah.
Like
It did.
it's like a resurgence. And so
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really like that one.
Oh, so you've read. I thought you've never read
Listen.
Colleen Hoover.
Oh, listen.
Okay.
I have a shelf right over there. I read Colleen Hoover before she was famous. Okay.
Oh, my
So-
bad.
Oh, she's like, I read her before.
I did. I'm not like the other girlies. I'm not like the other girlies at all.
Wait, what did you think of Ugly Love then?
Did I give it 5 stars?
Oh,
Oh,
You know,
Come on
okay. Here's
now.
the thing, though. Back in the day when I read new adult romance, like the bar for me it's non-existent. Okay,
okay.
it
You
had
were reading the.
steam, smut, and I was like, ooh, here
Okay.
for it. 5 out of 5. Like I wasn't very critical about my reading back then, I guess.
Okay.
And
That makes
so
sense,
if I enjoyed it, it was a 5 out of 5. Like literally,
had-
like if you go to my Goodreads
yeah.
for most of her books.
You
However,
reading
at
now
least
being like,
now, yeah, yeah.
You're a Hoover stan. That's awesome.
It's funny because I have a cube shelf and it's just all of her books.
Have you
But it
read
was like
all?
a while ago. No, I haven't read her like more current ones.
Okay.
But the last current book that I did read, that when she first came out with it, was It Ends With Us. And yeah, it definitely ended with us, me and Colleen's Hoover relationship, because never didn't touch it. Done over. It was a clean relationship break. So
he's no
Okay.
longer Hoover.
Oh no.
He's sorry, I can't be a
Okay.
Dyson anymore.
I was gonna make a vacuum joke, and I was like, I don't know what. So you killed that. Okay. So we'll ponder.
We'll ponder.
Also,
we'll discuss.
congrats, Candace. That's great.
Yay!
That's amazing.
Woo!
We love that.
But
Aw.
yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Maybe if you guys have any like romance recommendations that you guys really want us to read, if it's like a new release or a back listed title,
Mhm.
let's just let us know in the Discord. You guys can join our Discord. There is a $50 membership fee. You just put it out to join. It's exclusive. I'm just kidding. It's you don't have to do,
Contradict
you don't have to do
every
anything.
video I've ever mentioned.
You don't have to do
It's
anything.
free to join.
It's free to join. I'm like, no. Well, we're not doing this for free. No. Who said that? Who said that? So yeah, our Discord. I believe I linked it down below. All you got to do is just make an account, I think, and you're
Part of it.
It's very easy. You can discuss all that. Just let us know in the Discord, because I think that's where the majority of where our book club is. So
Well,
yeah, thank you so
another
much
wonderful month.
for joining us for this book. But now it's time for a reprieve for all of us.
yes.
Thank you so much, everyone. Next live show will be on Joel's channel for Pure Nessie. So that'll be really interesting. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining, and I guess we'll talk about the next book with you guys later. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
I'll just